Some guy raped me. Under the trees. I didn't know what to do. I was stupid and drunk, and I didn't know what was happening, and then he raped me. When the police came, everyone was screaming, and I was just too scared. So I cut through some backyards and walked home. I couldn't tell anybody. Melinda Swardina was 13 years old when Senior Andy Thompson raped her. For a year, she tells no one. She even goes as far to find a closet to hide in at school. It is not until Melinda comes face to face with her fears that she realizes she must speak. Speak by Lori Hall Anderson. I don't want to hang out in my hidey hole anymore. I don't feel like hiding. I head for my closet after school. I want to take the poster of Maya Angelou home, and I'd like to keep some of my pictures. The rest of the stuff can stay, as long as it doesn't have my name on it. Who knows? Maybe some other kids need a safe place to run next year. I leave the door cracked open a bit, so I can breathe. It's hard to get the pictures off the walls without tearing them. The day is getting hotter, and there's no circulation in here. I open the door wider. Who's going to come by now? By this point in the year, teachers take off faster than students when the final bell rings. The only people left are a few teams scattered on the practice field. I should have gone to my locker first. I forgot about the books that are in there. I turn out the light and head out the door for my locker. As I am leaving, somebody slams into my chest and knocks me back into the closet. The light flicks on and the door closes. I am trapped with it. Andy Thompson. Andy Beast. You're one strange chick, you know that? A freak! I can't believe anybody can listen to you. He grabs my wrist. I try to pull them back and he squeezes so tight, it feels like my bones are splintering. He pins me against the closed door. Maya Angelou looks at me, begging me to say something, anything. I open my mouth and take a deep breath. You're not going to scream. You didn't scream before. You liked it. You're just jealous that I took out your friend and not you. I think I know what you want. His mouth is on my face. I twist my head. His lips are wet and his teeth knock against my cheekbone. I pull my arms again and he slams his body against mine. I have no legs. My heart wobbles. His teeth are on my neck. The only sound I can make is a whimper. He fumbles to hold both wrists in one hand. If he wants a free hand, I remember. Metal hands. Hot knife hands. No. A sound explodes from me. No! I follow the sound, pushing off the wall, pushing Andy Evans off balance, stumbling into the broken sink. He curses and turns. His fist coming. An explosion in my head. Blood in my mouth. He hit me. I scream. Why aren't the walls falling? I'm screaming loud enough to make the whole school crumble. I grab for anything, my potpourri bowl, and throw it at him. It misses and lands on the floor. The door is locked. It's locked. He grabs me, pulls me away from the door. One hand over my mouth, one around my throat. He leans me against the sink. My fists mean nothing to him. Little rabbit paws thumping harmlessly. His body crushes me. My fingers wave overhead, looking for a branch, a limb, something to hang on to. A block of wood. I slammed against Maya Angelou's poster. I hear a crunch. It doesn't hear. It breathes like a dragon. Its hands leave my throat, attacks my body. The wood that I hit against the poster hit the mirror under it. Shards of glass slip down the wall and into the sink. It pulls away from me, puzzled. I reach in, wrap my fingers around a triangle of glass, and hold it to Andy Thompson's neck. He freezes. I push hard enough to raise just one drop of blood. He raises his arms above his head. My hand quivers. I want to insert the glass all the way through his throat. I want to hear him scream. I look up. I see the stubble on his chin, a fleck of white in the corner of his mouth. His lips are paralyzed. He cannot speak. And that's good enough for me. I said no! He nods. Someone is pounding on the door. I unlock it and the door swings open. Nicole is there along with the lacrosse team. Sweaty, angry, their sticks held high. Someone peels off and runs for help. I have survived. I am here, confused, screwed up, but here. So how can I find my way? Is there a chainsaw of the soul, an axe I can take to my memories or fears? A small, clean part of me waits to warm and burst through the surface. Some quiet Melinda girl that I haven't seen in months. That is the seed I will care for. It happened. There's no avoiding it, no forgetting. No running away, or flying, or burying, or hiding. Andy Thompson raped me in August when I was drunk and too young to know what was happening. It wasn't my fault. He hurt me. It wasn't my fault. And I'm not going to let it kill me. I can grow. And I can learn to speak.
Johnny, a bright and lively little 4-year-old boy, has just recently been released from a hospital where he was a long-term patient. This is exciting news for Johnny and his family, but they have also just found out that he has a heart disease, and only one kind of prescription medication can treat him: a huge pill. One more small problem arises. Johnny is too little to swallow the pill whole, and if he would chew the pill, he would become sick because of the horrible taste of the chemicals in the medication. Johnny's physician sent the medication to a pharmacy to have it changed into liquid form. Not long after, the pharmacy sent it back, stating they were unable to accomplish this task without the medication having an unbearable taste. Lisa Todd, pharmacist and compounder of King's Pharmacy in Lawrence, Kansas, decided she was going to take a challenge and change the pill into a liquid so Johnny could take his medication. What Lisa Todd did with Johnny's medication is called compounding, which is mixing or combining 2 or more things together. The people who perform this task are called compounders. Although many of you may have never heard of compounding, it is not something new. The Professional Compounding Centers of America states that in the 1930s and 1940s, approximately 60% of all medication was compounded. In other words, made from scratch. In later years, the medical field fell away from compounding. But in recent years, compounding has become more and more popular, for the fact that you can change the concentration of the medication, the flavor of the medication, and the form of the medication to fit each person it is prescribed to. I think that the process of compounding is fascinating, and I'd like to share with you the reasons why drugs are compounded, the tedious process of compounding, and another use of compounding. Compounders have many reasons why they change a drug from its original form to a new form. Have you ever had to gag down a wretched-tasting liquid medication, or choke down a tremendously large pill? Many children and adults have this problem. So the pill is changed into a liquid, or the liquid has a flavor added to make the medication much more palatable. The Professional Compounding Centers of America states that often parents have a tough time getting their children to take the medication because of the flavor, so they add new flavors for the children. Another problem can be the concentration of the medication. In some cases, the medication can be too strong or too weak to help the person it is prescribed for. In this case, compounders are actually able to make the medication stronger or weaker per teaspoon. The last problem is people can be allergic to a certain chemical, dye, or flavoring in the medication prescribed to them. In this case, compounders are so experienced they can change that one chemical, dye, or flavoring into something new, so the person is still able to take the medication without the worries of a horrible rash or reaction. No matter what the reason is for compounding the drug, the process is very lengthy and time-consuming. First of all, the compounder receives the order of the medication and locates the tablet or capsule of the correct drug. Then they dust like powder. In order to get it this thin, they use utensils called a mortar and pestle made of glass or ceramic. To put this into our terms, a bowl and stick-like object. Now that the powder is made, the compounder must determine what it is soluble in. This can be a very complicated part of compounding because not all things are soluble in water. Compounders have to do series after series of tests to determine what the powder will fully dissolve in. Alcohol is used quite often when the powder will not dissolve in water. Now that they know what it will dissolve in, they must determine if the stability of the drug will be affected. In other words, will the drug lose its power as a liquid? This is also very important, because if the drug would lose its power, it would be of no help to the patient. Now comes the flavoring. First, the compounder must add a small amount of the water or alcohol to turn the powder into a paste. Then they must determine the original flavor of the drug. They have to decide if the drug is too bitter, too salty, or too acidic. Then they get to pick a flavor to cover up the original flavor of the drug, to make the medication much more palatable. Bitter drugs are covered well with flavors such as chocolate, raspberry, cherry, and others. Drugs that are too salty are covered well with flavors such as citric acid, which is a tropical flavor, cinnamon, raspberry, and more. Drugs that are too acidic are covered well with flavors such as pineapple, orange, cherry, and other fruity flavors. Knight Ridder newspaper quotes pharmacist Kenny Cram saying, "It doesn't make them taste like candy, just much more palatable. So keeping them out of reach of children is much more important now." Now that the flavor is added, the compounder adds the rest of the water or alcohol to make the medication into a full liquid. While they're doing this step, they can determine the